Worksheets. Yes. Oh, I thought someone had a question. Sorry. All right. Again, if I'm going too fast, please make sure to let me know so we don't have to do this all over again. Not that I mind reteaching. Just want to make sure that we're moving at an appropriate pace. We're going to split this guy in half. And we're going to do hatching on the left. We're going to do cross hatching on the right. And don't forget to put your name on it. It's good practice. There we go. I don't know why I'm putting this way. So we are going to start with a cone. I don't know if y'all, you've ever heard of a cone before. It's like an ice cream cone or a traffic cone or a cone head. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with other cones and I'm having a hard time. I'm going to make this one pretty large. I guess pretty tall as well. So we're going to start with just kind of an upside down V situation. Boom. So we got two straight lines, right, coming to a point up here at the top. Try to make them as even as you can. And then we're going to have the bottom of a cylinder. So I don't know if y'all remember, but we have that oval up top. We're going to try to do the same kind of smiley face mouth deal right here. And that's going to be our cone. Ta-da! It's quite large. Maybe I shouldn't have made it as big. But that's okay. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Okay. Don't forget to put it on the surface if you want. You don't have to. But it's kind of nice to have some context. Because even now, just by adding that line, I feel like we've given it a little bit more form than it had a second ago. So always a good idea. Right there. Nope. Yep. Okay. And we're good. Okie dokes. So we're going to do some labeling first. Well, actually, the first thing we always have to do when we are adding value to a shape is we're going to establish our light source. And today, just like most days, our light source is coming in from up here. You can draw it with a little sun if you want. You can just draw the arrow. It doesn't really matter. That's going to be almost exactly the same. Now we are running into a little bit of a difference because we don't have a flat area on top, right, to mark as 0, right? If we remember our other worksheets, going back through our other worksheets, right, we have this flat area on top that has a highlight because it's closest, right, to the light source. We don't have that up here. It's just this little point. So it's going to be a little bit different. So today, this whole edge over here, this little tiny piece of this edge over here is going to be marked as a 0. So I'm going to almost put it all the way off. But the 0 is going to be marked all the way over here in the corner. And that represents, again, this whole edge right here. But then everything else is pretty much the same. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way at the end. And yes, you guessed it, the shadow is still in the same spot somewhere over there, and that is going to be a big old 6. All right. Whoop, yep, there we go. All right. So now that we're labeled out, 0 through 5 on the bottom, 6 over here. We got our light source. I think everything's pretty much ready to go. I just want to talk about I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on that. No, I'm not. All right, so we're going to be using horizontal lines, just like we talked about in the check-in. When you have curved lines at the bottom, right, you're going to have curved lines coming across your shape. Right, so those curves are going to be larger at the bottom than they are at the top. As you can see, I don't know if you can imagine like a cone, right? If you have I don't know the best way to explain it, right? This distance, it gets wider, right, as you go further and further down. So your lines are going to get longer and longer. So when we're drawing, we're definitely going to be using these curved lines, but they're going to get shorter and shorter as they get up to the top until they're almost nothing when they get to the point. Makes sense. I just wanted to kind of point that out so we're all aware. But the other thing that we need to recognize is, so we have like lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the bottom. And in previous sketches, right, we've used our piece of paper and kind of moved it across one section at a time. But the whole time our paper is staying upright and parallel with the page. Okay, that's going to change on this one. So for this, you're actually going to have, sorry, where did I have it before? So I had a little dot from this morning. That dot is going to remain on the top of the point of our cone no matter what. So my index finger is going to remain there, and it's going to slowly twist as we move from section to section. So as you can see, it's kind of pivoting on this axis, right? Kind of like that. So that's kind of important. As long as you have like a heads up that that's going to happen, that's fine. That's enough for me. Just know that we are not going to move across this shape like this, because that's not the general feel of our shape, right? The feel of our shape is pointed, right? So our process is going to change slightly. It's not going to change completely, but it is going to change a little bit, and it's important to note that before moving forward. So there you go. That's the deal. So check it out. We're going to leave this entire edge, like we talked about before, 0, totally empty, right? Because that's what 0 is. It's absent of value. So we're going to do our first section over here at number 1. So I'm going to get my piece of paper. All right. And I'm going to slowly rotate it until I get to number 1. But the top of my paper is still on the point of is right on the point of the cone. So one edge of your paper, the top is on the point, the bottom is on the 1. Okay. And this is different than usual because we usually start with 1 going all the way across, but it's a little bit different with this shape. So if you're unsure, watch me now. All right, we're still going to do the same number of lines, or at least try to. I'm going to pivot this a little bit, get my computer keyboard out of the way, just so I can draw. All right, so number 1 on the bottom, on the top, we have the point, and we're going to start drawing. So I'm going to start at the bottom where the lines are nice and large. And I'm going to follow the same, the outline at the bottom. Okay, looks good. A little shaky. We'll keep going. Equally spaced, just like always. Making sure that these lines are nice and curved. That was a little much. So actually your curve is going to change slightly with each line that you create, right? So that'll make a little bit more sense when you practice a bunch, but I just realized that now, and I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. So the shape of your lines are going to sort of change as you move on down the line, but what you're going to have is something that looks like this. So there's a small gap, small but important gap, between your number 1 lines and the 0. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute. See, this one looks kind of weird because I did a little too many curves on there. You get the white out. It's okay. We'll be okay. And mistakes are important. It's the only way you learn. All right, just give you all a second. And just a second, we'll move on. Okay, so again, we have our kind of magical point up here at the top that always remains on the point of the cone, the tippy top. I don't know, do people say that anymore? Probably not. So we have that. We're going to move it past the 1 over to the 2. And our process now is very much the same. It's just a matter of lining up our sections. So you can see we don't have straight sections. We don't have rectangular sections anymore. Right? Because of the shape of our object, we have triangular sections, if that makes sense. So we're shading like a smaller cone right now. I don't know. Just trying to explain it in different ways to see if it makes more sense. Okay, we're gonna start. I have the bottom of my paper at the 2. I have the top of my paper at the tip top point of the cone, and we're gonna add in a fresh set of lines directly in between the lines that we have just drawn. So no need to rush, go slow. Try to get them directly in between. It looks better that way. Give a little curve on the end. Alright, looks pretty consistent, going all the way down, equally spaced. Good. Alright, so now we have 2 values in whatever this is doing. It's okay. Mistakes happen. So right, now we have a 0 value, we have a 1 value, and then we have a 2, but our 2 is, taking up this whole area, so obviously we have to add in more. And that's what we're going to do right now. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute and shout them out. Ooh. No questions. Okay. Thank you. All right. Continuing on. We've done the 1. We've done the 2. It's time to move on to the 3. Just had to double check that real quick. So interesting thing about the 3 is our line is actually going straight up and down because it's in the middle. So our left side, right, follows this angle. Our right side also follows an angle, but the middle is directly straight up and down, which is kind of interesting. And that's just one of the quirks of looking at a cone. So here we go. All right, bottom of our paper is on the 3. Top of our paper is directly on the point of the cone. And from here, we're just adding in more lines. So starting at the bottom, right in between the first 2 lines, and carefully add another set of lines. Nice and slow, equidistant lines going all the way up. These lines are getting smaller as we go up to the top, so they're almost just little tiny lines. Okay. And yeah, that's starting to kind of resemble a cone with a little bit of value in it. There we go. So again, our first section was all the way over here. Sorry, all the way over here. Second section, right? And I'm just pivoting this moving forward. The next one will be here, and then finally the one will be over here. So it's kind of this windshield wiper motion that we're using. It's a good way to put it. Keep messing this up. All right. Moving on, we're going to set up over here by the 4. Alright, so the bottom of our sheet is on the 4. The top part of our sheet is right on the point of the cone, as you might expect. And we're just going to start from the bottom and just start tucking in these lines. Starting to get a little tight down here, but try to do your best to do equally spaced lines. That's how, that one was off. It's just how it works the best. And you got so many lines at this point, they all don't have to be perfect. I stopped counting, otherwise I'd tell you how many we've done. Jeez. Okay, that wasn't even close. The struggle is real. Almost done. So there you go. Taken away. Looks pretty good. We've got more value. This still is bugging the crap out of me, but hey, that's all right. We're looking good. So yeah, we're most of the way done at this point. We're just going to move on to 5s here. We're going to put another little kind of like the opposite of 0 over here. So we have a thin little slice of 0. We're going to have a thin little slice of 5 over here. And then we'll move on to our shadow. So again, just kind of lining up, making sure the top is on the point, and then I'm going to move it kind of over here to the 5-ish. That's fine. All right, I'm going to try my best to sneak these lines in between these tiny little spaces, but I don't know how well this is going to work. Oh boy. My lines are so short now that if you don't really have to worry about making your lines curved. They'll kind of work out. So I'm just making little straight lines. Cheating a little bit, but I think it's going to speed things up in a good way. Still can't do it. And my lines are getting tinier and tinier, which is getting to be an issue. Right. So the little guys going all the way up to the top, and eventually they're going to disappear, right? Because I just can't fit them in anymore because of the size of the pen. But there you go. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah, we got a nice little shadow coming in over the side. We got a 0 highlight over here. We got 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. Even steps in between each value. I think we're doing pretty well. All that's left from here is to add in, our shadow. I'm going to go a completely different way. So one tip, I don't know if it's best practice or not, but it's something I do all the time. When I'm hatching, I want to illustrate the difference between the surface of the cone and the surface of the table, which are naturally different, right? You have a flat table surface, you have a curved cone surface. Also, it comes to a point. It's all wonky and crazy. The point is, they're totally different. So what I'm going to do is, while the cone lines, right, are doing one of these, which is kind of like a horizontal, well, it's kind of a diagonal, really. I'm going to go directly straight with these number 6s down here, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go off to the side and just really try to illustrate the difference between the cone and the table. Evenly spaced lines. We know there's going to be a bunch of them. All right, so that's first attempt. Honestly, that looks more like our number 4 spot, right? If you look at it objectively. So I'm going to go back in and add some more lines, try to get them in between the ones that I've already drawn. Sometimes just having another layer works. Okay. Taking another look. Yeah, we're getting there. Sorry, this is 5 over here. My 6, or what's supposed to be a 6, looks a little too similar to my 5, so I'm going to keep adding more lines. Really try to push this value darker. I'm going to do a little bit of scribbling here. Again, cheating, but we've done a lot of work so far, so I think adding a few more lines by scribbling is going to be fine. But again, find those white spots and see if you can increase the value. Because if you keep drawing over the same lines, it's not going to make it look darker. But if you do find an area of white, so kind of like over here, if you color over those, it should look a little bit darker. Yeah, I think that'll do it. All right, so here we go. There's that. That's our hatched cone. And this is just one more thing. If you make another little cone over here, I just want to kind of illustrate the different sections. So we have our 1 coming down like this. We have our 2, our 3, our 4, and our 5. So if you break it down, that's kind of what it looks like. So lines on the left side are going that way, lines on the right side are coming this way, and lines in the middle are coming straight down. right? So it's kind of a little bit different. Every shape kind of has its quirks. Just wanted to point that out to you, so you guys can see that. All right.